Do you know how in Moneyball, Billy Bean asks Peter Brand, like the Jonah Hill character, the movie I'm talking about, which one would you choose between getting shot in the head once or getting shot in the chest 5 times and bleed to death? The World Series for the Yankees was getting shot in the chest 5 times because it's a best of 7 series. But instead of actually getting shot 5 times and bleed to death, you get shot 3 times, and then the guy shooting you drops the gun in front of you, and it's probably like 6 feet away from you, and then you try to go get it, and then as you take a step, you realize that you had tied your shoes together in the morning because it was just for fun, and then so you tripped on yourself, and the other guy picks up the gun and shoots you in the head right away. So you get the pain and the instant death and the hope that you may have gotten it out alive. Hello, welcome to Rants with Danny Shi. Today is November 2nd, and I am in New Jersey. First New York Yankees episode since what, 2019, 2020? 2020. I did an episode before the horrendous divisional series, Game 5 that year. Pain, straight pain. And it's not just pain. Like, look, this podcast is, this particular podcast episode is just going to be about my feelings, and I'm not going to break down any numbers. In fact, I've not seen the World Series box score ever. I've not seen a single highlight clip besides maybe Game 4. But my point is, it's not going to be an analysis. Is mostly what I think and what I've gathered. Is it the most accurate analysis? I doubt it. I'm not being paid by any organization to do any baseball evaluations. But compared to football, in college football, the way that the baseball playoff system works, it's slow death versus instant pain. So, for example, comparing the last time I felt this much pain was Texas-Washington Sugar Bowl 2024. But it was a 1 game, and with the way the Texas roster is constructed, you feel like you have a shot. For Tony's baseball fans, the way this feels so different. Like, I'm a Raccoons Monkeys fan. Now, my fandom for the Monkeys is much less versus my fandom for the Yankees. But at the end of the day, the Monkeys still lost at Game 7 in the Taiwan series last year, 2023, and then got swept in 2022. Now, the 2022 series really hit hard because it was against the brothers. But my point is, that was still just pain because with how the CPP structure works, half of the league make the playoffs, right? And so, realistically, you have hope. With this Yankees team, not only is this the closest you've ever been in 15 years, the second time you make the World Series since 2001. Sorry. So the second time you make the World Series since 2003? Yeah, 2003. Because 04 lost, 05, no. So second time since 2003. That's 20 years, 2 times in 20 years. And in that span, your salary, yearly salary, team salary has been ranked in the top 4 in every year besides 2018. And so when you're looking at hope for the future, the past has given you very little hope into what the future is going to look like, especially with how weak the American League is this year. I'm getting into it already. You look at all of the teams on the ascension in the American League, the Royals, the Guardians, the Mariners, the Blue Jays are. I don't know what happened to the Blue Jays this year. I didn't pay attention to them. I just kind of feasted on their pain a little bit this year. And Baltimore is very good. They're gonna get better. They're gonna go on a run, like between 2012 to 2015, in my opinion. They're gonna go on a run, and the Yankees, I'm not sure if they can stop it. The Rays are gonna be there. They're gonna screw up the Yankees one way or another, and then Boston is a sleeping giant, in my opinion. They're really just a few steps away with that club, that tradition they've set. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the Yankees won 93 games this year, and it's 93, right? The Yankees won 93 games this year, and they had the best record in the MLB, in American League. I mean, 93 games. 94, my bad. I'm off by 1. 94 games here, and they're on top of the American League. When was the last time that happened? 94. 88 wins is, like in my head, 88 wins is like the minimum you make the playoffs. They're only 6 above that. But they're going to pat themselves in the back because they had the best record in the American League. But you only won 94 games. This is not a juggernaut. They were a juggernaut for about a 6-week period. But after that, they're just a mediocre team. 94 wins. You're sitting here pretending like you're all that. In terms of World Series caliber teams or championship caliber teams that Hal Steinbrenner keeps on talking about, 94 wins is not enough. I would have been as mad, to be frank. I was gonna be as mad if the Yankees won 100 games and lost in the World Series, because that was what happened in 2018. That was Aaron Boone's first year, 2018. They won 100 games, but they didn't really that division was so bad, and Baltimore was terrible that year. The Rays was not really that good, and Boston had won like 120 games or whatever it was. So the Yankees had a 100-game win season, and we still had to play the wild card. Now we beat Oakland, but we got embarrassed by Boston. Embarrassed. I mean, we gave up 17 at home, and that year, that particular series was as bad as how I'm feeling today, because not only did you lose to Boston, you lost to Boston at home 17-1 or whatever the score is, but we gave up 17. Do you know how I remember 17? Because Alex Cora bragged about it on the championship parade. He didn't brag about the World Series record. They didn't brag about the championship series record. They talked about putting up 17 in Yankee Stadium that year in the divisional series. But my point is, trying to find my way back. This was pain and anger. A lot of the times it's just pain. A lot of the time it's pain along with some hope. A lot of the time it's just, this team, like the Monkeys, I know it hurts, but I mean, we're probably gonna make it back because, half the league make the playoff in the CPBL. But in the case of this World Series, after the World Series, there's no hope. And there's pain and there's anger because the way they lost Game 5 was flat out unacceptable. You realize how far you were away from a real World Series championship contender in the Dodgers in the first 3 games of the series. And there's pain just because your team lost in the World Series. And there's no hope because, like I said, the way this team is being managed, there's no hope with the past 20 years of data that they will be anything better. 20 years of data. I'm not talking about a 2-year period. Look, the Yankees have had the top 4 salary by team rankings since 2003 every single year. Most of the time, more than half the times, it was number 1. And they had 1 championship since that period. And since 2003, 2 World Series appearances. That's 20 years. 20 years, 21 years, whatever. I can't do the math right now. But my point is this. Top 4 in salary every year. Most of the years is either top 2 or number 1. Now, the last 6 years is mostly top 4. I get it. But guess what? In the last 8 years, since 2018, you've been in the ALCS 3 times. Now, 1 time this year, you had the easiest path to the World Series I've ever witnessed as a Yankee fan. Royals, Guardians, not that they're not good, but compared to the Yankees, compared to a real World Series contender. I mean, I don't think I'm breaking the news here, and I think if you go to Cleveland, you go to Kansas City, you're saying your team is on the ascension. This is a building year. This is a great year for you. You've had playoff experience. This will lead you to a better future. This is just not there. You're just not there yet. I don't think they will have a problem with that. They're not the same as the Astros in 2019 or the Boston in 2018 or, Houston for all these years. Astros, you can talk about 2020, 2021, 2022. They're not the Braves in 2021. But the American League this year is very down. It's a very down year for the American League. The Yankees had the easiest path to the World Series. And then you finally get there. And for about a 3-day period between Game 5 of the ALCS to Game 1 of the World Series, that's between Sunday to Friday? By the way, I do appreciate MLB deliberately starting the World Series on a Friday. That was smart because I remember in the past, I was like, why would you start a World Series on a Thursday when nobody's going to watch? I take that a couple of days rest off. I don't mind it. It's a TV product. It's an entertainment product. You want eyeballs on it. Good move, I think, by Major League Baseball or Fox. I think Fox and MLB does pretty well in the postseason broadcast. But for about 5 days, there's a facade. There's a facade. There's a hope. There's a glimmer of glory. Oh, we're back for the first time since 2009. Oh, we're back. We're 4 games away. Now it's going to be a difficult road because the Dodgers, but there's a shot. Game 1, if you grab game 1, you really have a shot, because if you split the 2 games in LA, you come back home, you win 2 out of 3. Now all of a sudden, all the pressure is on the LA side. There's a real good shot. You win 2 out of 3 in New York, and you split the 2 in LA. You have to split the 2 in LA, because if you go down 2-0 coming back to New York, with the way this team operates, the lack of intensity, or not intensity, the lack of ability to come back from under pressure, this team throughout Boone's tenure has done a terrible job coming back, reversing momentum, and also keeping your momentum. That's a whole nother rant. But my point is, you can't come back to New York 2-0, but you do have a really good shot splitting the LA games in game 1 and game 2, because, in my opinion, you're one of the very few advantages over LA is your starting pitching. And really, when you do break it down in starting pitching, because of the injuries LA is having, when you really break it down in the advantages in starting pitching, your really only advantage is Garrett Cole, is your ace, because your ace is definitely better than their ace. Number 2, we can debate about that. Carlos Rodon, on and off, right? And then after your top 2 is Clark Schmidt and Luis Heel. They're okay. They're good 2 and 3. They're good 3 and 4 in the regular season. But when you're putting them against an all-star lineup like the Dodgers, it's not quite an advantage as you think when you put it over a fabulous Dodgers bullpen and like the Yamamoto's of the world, Jack Flaherty of the world. But when you look at your top 2, your ace is definitely an advantage, in my opinion. And your number 2, Carlos Rodon, you realize you're starting to fall off a little bit in terms of your advantages. So game 1, you had the best shot. Your best shot was game 1. You have to win that one. You win that game, you at the minimum come back to New York 1-1 split, and we can talk about having a 3-game home field advantage over the next over the last 5 games of the series. Now we're talking. So for about a 5-day period between the last game of the championship series on the American League side and the first game of the World Series, calmness. I will try to first couple of days I just try to keep myself calm, because I was thinking, no, this Yankees team is not really there. But hey, we're in it. We're the finalists. And then you saw the Mets putting up a pretty good fight. I mean, they won Game 5, and then they go on in LA, and then Game 6 was quite lopsided. But New York was the Mets was. I mean, look, the Mets put up a better fight against the Dodgers than the Yankees have been. But look, it's all facade. It's all sizzle. No, like as Colin Cowherd would say, it's all sizzle, no steak. Easiest path to World Series in a very long time. Very long time. Guardians, Royals. Now, to be fair, we did win our division with just 94 wins, by the way. When's the last time that happened? So we didn't have to play in the wild card. We didn't have to face Houston, right? We didn't have to face Minnesota. Was it Minnesota? No, Minnesota missed the playoff. Who did the Royals play? Oh, we didn't have to face Baltimore. We faced the AL Central. And the one thing that you can count on, the one thing I will give credit to this Yankee team in the last 6 years, or the Aaron Boone era, Aaron Judge era, Garrett Cole era, is that they know how to beat AL Central teams. They do not know how to do that. They know how to beat Minnesota. They know how to beat Kansas City. They know how to beat Cleveland. I will give them that. And on this particular World Series trip, the 2 rounds that you have to play in the American League, both are from the AL Central. And it really is an easy path compared if you look at how they match up. Now, Cleveland put up a very good fight, in my opinion. To me, Cleveland can hold their heads up high because they played their brand of baseball. They were gritty. They put the ball in play. Now that's there's home runs versus hits, right? It's getting on base, hitting very well, good defense versus homers and homers and homers. And the Yankees won. The home runs won in the ALCS as well. Also, that's with Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto. Especially Stanton, he was the A-Rod of 2009. He was very good in the first 2 rounds. It was okay in the World Series, but Stanton, Juan Soto, Judge was a non-factor besides Game 3. Gleyber Torres done very well all postseason on the offense. Really, Cleveland played their best brand of baseball. Now they came up a little bit short. I think they'll be back. I think they will give the Yankees a hard time as the Yankees start deteriorating with Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole aging. The Yankees are on the backside of their quote-unquote window now, by the way. That's why I'm saying there's no hope. The Yankees really are on the backside of their window, downside of their championship window. Kansas City, I thought they put up pretty good fight. But again, to me, the Royals, here's a theory of mine that, there's a couple of outliers like last year in the World Series, but a team, their first rodeo in the playoffs, you shouldn't expect much. When you face a playoff team that is in the most of their players are in their prime and they've been there before, and you're a first timer, I think you need to learn how to ride that dragon, the playoff jitters, the fans, the momentum shifts. It normally takes at least one trip to the playoffs. And now it can't just be, it has to be more than just like a wild card game or like a one-round exit. You have to be kind of competitive. And the Royals did that. I mean, they beat Baltimore, and then Cleveland, right? Cleveland beat, was it the other way around? But Kansas City, I mean, they're in there, right? Like they gained their experience this year. They're gonna be back. Cleveland, I think they're going to be back. Baltimore is on the rise. They've all had playoff experience. So I think Kansas City will be right there. But if you look at that divisional series, I think they did pretty good too. The Yankees just outslugged everybody until the World Series. That's it. I have it on record because I was texting my parents and they were asking me how the Yankees would fare in the World Series. By the way, Shohei Ohtani really is puts baseball in a higher level in terms of popularity internationally. By the way, I'm just pointing out the obvious. The Yankees compared to the Dodgers have worse top end talent. So what I mean by that is like Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman versus Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton. Now maybe you put Gleyber in there, but Gleyber's really a role player now. Shohei, Freddie, Mookie Betts versus Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Stanton. Before the series, I'm not even talking about the World Series. Before the series, who would you pick? I picked the Dodgers side because at least all three of them can run. Even with a bad ankle, Freddie Freeman can outrun Stanton. And Mookie Betts is much more versatile than any of the three guys that we have. So you have worse top-end talent. You have worse depth in the lineup. I mean, I would pick the bottom lineup on the Dodgers any day. Tommy Edman, Gavin Lux, Max Muncy. They all had big at-bats, much better at-bats in big moments in the World Series than the Yankees' bottom half of the lineup. Now, the Yankees' role players did pull out a win in the playoff, the first game in the divisional series against Kansas. That was the bottom lineup doing the work. But the Dodgers' bottom lineup, I'm picking that over Austin Wells, Jazz Chisholm. Now, he's been disappointing, but he was like a 230 hitter, okay, when we traded for him. Picking him over Anthony Volpe on the offensive side. Picking them over Alex Verdugo. I mean, he's been pretty good. And then I'm picking them over Anthony Rizzo any day of the week. So you have worse depth on the offense. Your bullpen, I still think the Dodgers have a better bullpen because they can go out there and dominate a bullpen game, not like the Yankees. I think the Yankees bullpen is very good, and that is what I'll give credit to this Yankee management team is they know how to put together a really good bullpen. They can find pieces anywhere. I mean, who the heck is Luke Weaver? And then Tommy Kahnle, I mean, he's like 45 and he's still on the team and doing pretty well besides Game 5 of the World Series. And then but the way they treated the closer role, I just don't know what they're doing with Clay Holmes, putting him in there for like 7 years, not 7 years, but like 200 years despite him blowing saves. My point is, I would say this, the Yankees bullpen, very good, okay, and I will give the Yankees credit for putting together good bullpens year after year after year, finding gems out of nowhere, but the Dodgers bullpen is still, in my opinion, better. Now, it's not drastically better, and I'm okay living with the Yankees bullpen. But again, when you talk about it, your starting pitching is probably your biggest advantage. But this is really only down to Garrett Cole that really establishes the gap. One guy. Your lineup-wise, your top guys, Dodgers are better. Depth guys, bottom of the lineup, Dodgers are better. bullpen, the Dodgers have the edge, even though I'm okay with the Yankees bullpen. So when you look down at it, the Yankees are good at hitting homers and Garrett Cole. And they're terrible in the fundamentals. And I wrote this down before the World Series. I mean, if you want to ask, DM me and I can send you screenshots. They're terrible in the fundamentals, and that's shown in Game 5 of the World Series. That showed up in Game 1 of the World Series. The game both games they should have won, they lost because they can't do the fundamentals right. And by the way, compared to the other side, the Dodgers doing everything fundamentally tremendously well. And in fact, I will say this, Game 4 of the World Series, when it's like 11-4, whatever the final score was, there were so many times when the Yankees came out with the lead after Anthony Volpe's grand slam, the Dodgers was knocking on the door. The Yankees, if they had good defense, if they were good on the details, they would have put the Fires away immediately. But it's like a little bit of a low toss there, a high throw to this place, just bad fundamental detail in baseball that put the Dodgers on base again and again and again and giving the Dodgers chance after chance after chance, and they're just playing with fire. And that fire blew up in your face in Game 5. When Aaron Judge, your captain, cannot catch a fly ball, that started everything. Now, Garrett Cole, to his credit, was worth the $400 million or whatever he was given in the 3 at-bats after that. He got rid of Shohei. He got rid of... who batted last? Was it Gavin Lux? He got rid of him. He got rid of Shohei. But run to first base, please. Gosh. Can you... I know you're worth $36 million a year, but and apparently he was going after the ball. But I mean, it's not like after you went for the ball, there wasn't an ample amount of time for him to run to first base. But he slowed down, and then he looked at first base. I cannot understand that sequence. If you went for the ball, allegedly, and then you missed it, and then you ran to first base, you lose a foot race to Mookie Betts. No, not a lot of people can run a foot race against Mookie Betts, I get you. But run to first base, please. Please? So your captain can't catch a fly ball, your ace that's worth $36 million a year cannot run to first base. When the season's on the line, when they're in their allegedly biggest game of their careers, they can't make two fundamental plays, and I'm already getting into it in Game 5. I wanted to go through games 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but Jesus Christ, can you run to first base, please? I beg of you. So the Yankees have terrible fundamentals coming into the World Series that showed up in the World Series in the biggest stage of their lives. And my point is, out of all of this, we don't know if they're going to be back here. I don't know if they're going to be back here because this really was the year when you have a 1-year rental in Juan Soto until further notice, and you have the easiest path to the World Series in the playoff and the worst American League we've seen. 94 wins in the 162-game regular season, and somehow you have the best record in the American League? How's nobody talked about that? I need a second. Y'all know, a lot of you know I don't edit my shows. That's one, because it's a lot of time to do that, and two, a lot of the times, besides me kind of saying in there and just kind of having blank outs, space outs here and there, I never thought I needed to take a huge breather like I just did right now. But terrible fundamentals. And that's what really, the Aaron Boone era is a pain to watch, because on paper, talent-wise, I'm not talking about salary, I'm just talking about talent. A lot of the times, the Yankees should win games because you have better players. But they are so poor fundamentally. They're so poor in attention to detail. They're so poor on the defensive side of the ball that when the Yankees are trailing, when the Yankees are winning by a little, poor fundamentals lets the other team stay in the game longer than they should have. So the Yankees are not very good at putting games away, pulling away from games when they have a early lead. And so that a lot of the times lead to blown saves, putting games in situations where a razor-thin margin could really change the entire... they lose a lot of games they shouldn't have, and they don't win the games that they don't steal games either. When they're trailing by a lot, or they're trailing early, this team, especially this year, when they're trailing, they don't really fight back. They poor fundamentals put the games when you're trailing by a little bit. Great fundamentals can keep you in the game, but their fundamentals are so poor that they let games slip away very easily. And even in the games that they are still in it for the most part, they don't reverse the momentum. It feels like there's only one way they can win, is get the momentum early and then kind of clench your teeth and hope that they make it to the end. But when they're down, they will fight back and maybe they'll tie it. But then it feels like they will tie the game up at some point, and then the next inning they come back to the defense, and it kind of feels like, oh yeah, we got this. We're gonna win this game. We got all the momentum, and they start slacking off, and then the other team immediately puts like 3 runs on you, and you're like, oh, what just happened? And then they don't win games they don't win games they trail in. They don't win games that the other team scores first. And I try to look for those stats. I can't find them. But okay, let's go through the games really quick. Where am I right now? I can't tell how long this episode has been, but I bet it's pretty long. It's probably 30 minutes. Game 1, you had a shot. You really did. With 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Shohei hits one to right field. Juan Soto plays it. I mean, I saw people not being happy with how Juan Soto played that ball too close to the wall. But when he got the ball back to the infield, Shohei Ohtani was at a double max. I mean, it was not going to go to third. But the throw was a little off. But at the major league level, it shouldn't be that difficult. The minimum that Gleyber Torres should have done is at least stop the ball. But he went ahead and tried to pick the ball in the stadium that the Yankees don't play a lot of games in. He decides to go try to pick the ball, and he puts the ball 6 feet away from him. So Ohtani goes to third with 1 out. 90 feet given away to this Dodgers offense with Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman coming up. What was that? That was poor fundamentals. That's poor. That was poor intensity, poor mental focus. I don't get it. Why go pick the ball? Now I get it. Major League Baseball players probably do that all the time. But the one time that doesn't work, it happens in the World Series, and most of the time it's a Murphy's Law, right? The one time that doesn't work well for you at the biggest stage of your career, the biggest stage of this team in the last. Since 2009, how many? 15 years. 15 years. The biggest game in the last 15 years for this franchise, and the poor fundamentals start showing up again. Poor mental focus, like I was mentioning. So you kick the ball away. Mookie Betts did the exactly opposite of what the Yankees did. Showed terrific fundamentals, putting the ball in the air, and not in the air just like 4 feet away from the infield. No. He hit it all the way to deep center field to score the game-tying run. Great fundamentals. Great baseball compared to whatever we were doing. Now, to the Yankees' credit, the bottom of the lineup squeezed a run in, top of the 10th, 3-2. I don't even know what happened that caused the second, third. I think it was was it just good hits? I forget. But it could have. Our second and third, nobody out, basically. Or 1 out. Second and third, 1 out. And a guy called Aaron Boone, the manager of the New York Yankees, the manager of a 27-time champion New York Yankees, for the first time in his managing career, he's brought his team to the World Series. And this is what I mean by you kind of need to be there before to ride the dragon. I think you think clearer when you've been there before. You're accustomed to the situation. With Tim Hill and Nestor Cortez, both lefties, so there's no lefty-righty reasoning. One was terrific in the championship series, shut Cleveland down, came up big in high-leverage situations against Cleveland. The other hadn't pitched since September 18th, was a starting pitcher most of the season and most of his career, in fact. What is the one thing when you have your starters in the bullpen in the playoffs? What is the one thing that you absolutely cannot do, no matter who it is? Now, Garrett Cole 2019 was a different issue because Garrett Cole was so good that year. But also, Houston put in like the best reliever that year against Howie Kendrick 2019 World Series. But what is the one thing you absolutely cannot do? In fact, it's probably the worst thing to do to put a starter in a position like that is to put him on with runners on base, especially with less than 2 outs, especially when there's no force outs anywhere. And that is exactly what Aaron Boone did. You know, it's a boneheaded decision in my opinion. In fact, it's a boneheaded decision. That decision, look, he kind of got lucky. He got Shohei out on one pitch. Shohei didn't play that well this series. And then walking Mookie Betts, I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't want to face Mookie Betts either. If I was them between Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman with a high ankle sprain, I face Freddie Freeman if you have a lefty on the mound. But Nestor Cortes throwing his second pitch on a Major League Baseball mound since September 18th. Threw the ball to the inside part of the plate when Austin Wells was asking for the outside part of the plate. 93 miles per hour because he's hurt. Nestor Cortes is also working with the some sort of a torn UCL, or UCL is not in great shape. 93 mile per hour. So in Major League Baseball level, especially at the World Series level, especially against a hitter like Freddie Freeman, it's kind of easy swing. Lose game one. Because Aaron Boone, Nestor Cortes over Tim Hill. Now, what would have happened if they put Tim Hill in? Nobody really knows. We will never know that answer. But what I do know is, one, this is not the first time Aaron Boone has made it's a boneheaded decision. He's not done well managing bullpens throughout his tenure. There are a couple of very questionable calls. And two, that's when I forgot to mention when I was comparing the Dodgers and the Yankees. Alongside top-end talent, depth in the lineup, defense, the Dodgers also have a better manager. Now, it's harder to measure management, but just by one single metric, Roberts was better, and that is the amount of times he managed in the World Series. That alone, it was a huge gap. I mean, it's Aaron Boone's first time. Dave Roberts, he managed 2017, 2018, 2020, been there. Aaron Boone hadn't been there, and your rookie World Series manager makes errors like putting Nestor Cortes in the 10th inning against Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani. It really just comes down to that. Game 2 I didn't watch because the way it happened was when we played Cleveland, whenever I watched, the Yankees were losing, and when I wasn't watching, like I was driving home or whatever, I was taking a shower or whatever, the Yankees would go on to take the lead or win, put the game away. So I tried to jinx the Dodgers. I didn't watch Game 2. Now, to be fair, there wasn't really a lot to watch. I mean, one hit in the first 8 innings. Juan Soto grabbing the only run. Aaron Judge being non-existent. Game 3. So since Game 2, my jinx didn't work, I watched Game 3. You're down 0-2. You had Fat Joe performing. Now, I wasn't familiar with Fat Joe, but I don't think I will be familiar with Fat Joe for the foreseeable future because that performance really didn't make me want to listen to his music. Yeah, it really, I mean, went from Jay-Z and Alicia Keys in 2009 to Fat Joe in 2024. That performance did nothing. In fact, really, compared to who Ice Cube did the Dodgers one's performance, I didn't know what that was. Anyway, offense still a non-existent. Clark Schmidt, I mean, he missed his location on one pitch to Freddie Freeman with a short porch. I mean, it wasn't a short porch issue. I mean, that ball was probably going to be gone in many stadiums. I may be wrong, but he just missed the location. Austin Wells wanted high up, away, and then he went inside, and Freddie Freeman just hit the ball out. Look, it doesn't. I mean, he just missed his pitch, and to me, I was not so upset about that because it's not like you expected 7 innings of no run ball from Clark Schmidt. Anyway, he's going to miss the location, and then the Dodgers was going to pound upon it. When it was announced Walker Buehler versus Clark Schmidt, I told my uncle, it's a 4-0. The Yankees had to come back it's a 4-0 game right now. That the Yankees need to score at least 5. And guess what happened? The Dodgers scored 4. The Yankees scored nothing or 2. Oh, was it 2? Verdugo with 2-run home run, 4-2. My point is, that was part of the equation when you put Clark Schmidt up against Walker Buehler. Okay, so not that Walker Buehler has been great all year, but he was great against New York. He was great at New York in the championship series. So, it just obviously when the one time the Yankees needed him to not be great, he was terrific. And also the Yankees still trying to recover from that. Oh man, I almost said it. I know what I practiced this. I thought about this episode many times in the last 48 hours, and Every single time I sweared in my head, and I was like, I cannot do that on this episode. I cannot do that, and almost just did. But they were still recovering from the Game 1 fiasco. Of course, that's the F word I was thinking of. And the offense was dead in the first 5 innings. Young Carlos Stanton gets on second base, like the first time the Yankees ever got in scoring position. Like, oh my God, we're like 180 feet away from scoring. Volpe gets the ball to left field. Look. And this is what I'm talking about. Aaron Boone and his decisions, unlike the regular season, not just hurts one game, it hurts multiple games. Because at that point, in any other circumstances, 99% of the time, they should not have sent Stanton home. They should not have sent Stanton home in 99% of the time. But that 1% of the time is this one, because you're down 2-0 in the series and in the game. Was it 3-0 by then? I don't know. You were down. You need anything. And it's like Oklahoma when they're down 21-0 against Texas by halftime. They need anything right now. It's just anything right now they need. And I mean, again, Stanton, slowest runner in Major League Baseball. Yankees fan knew that. A lot of people who didn't watch Yankee games a lot did not know that. And they're like, why would you send him? Well, first of all, why is he that slow? He's been that slow all year. And because his entire lower body has been hurt year over year. So the Yankees told him, hey, you can't run anymore. You have to jog. So we're putting you in there just to hit home runs and line drive singles, and hopefully we get you home. He was told to not run. He's never running. He was not going to run very quickly. But you have to send him home. You cannot any sort of chance you can get anything at that moment, you have to try. Because Volpe, after that, was Anthony Rizzo, who's been non-existent. It's the bottom of the lineup, and with 2 outs, you have to take a shot. You have to take a shot, in my opinion. I have less of a problem with the send because of the situation that they were in. And who put them in that situation? Putting Nestor Cortez in Game 1 of the World Series when you're up 3-2, bases loaded against, not bases loaded, 2 men on base against Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. That decision put you in this position where you have to send Stanton when he didn't even touch third base when Teoscar Hernandez had the ball in his hands, and it's just easy throw to home plate. He knew who was running. He wasn't trying to gas it up. He just had to get it to home plate, and he would get Stanton. He knows that. The Dodgers know that. The Dodgers knows exactly what the Yankees do terribly. Base running and defense fundamentals. Everything that you learned since you're in Little League, the Yankees are terrible at, and the Dodgers know this, and Teoscar just had to send the ball to home plate. Just had to send it there. He doesn't have to gas it up and go in there. He knows who's running, and so he just tosses it in there, and then out number 3. I don't blame the third base coach in that situation. I don't blame Stanton in that situation. It's all part of it. You have to go in that situation. You cannot go first and third with Anthony Rizzo at the plate. This version of Anthony Rizzo at the plate with 2 outs. You can't do that. At that situation, you're down 2-0 in the series. You're down 2-0 in the game. You need anything. You need to break that egg. You need anything for this team to go, galvanize for just a little bit. I don't blame the third base coach at all. That was not a bad send. I would have sent him because you have to. You're four innings away from going down 3-0, and your offense has shown you nothing that makes you think they had another shot at this again. You had to send Stanton. Even though it's a 99% chance he can be out, and he was out. You had to take that gamble at Teoscar, just on the off chance that Teoscar Hernandez was going to slip the ball and send it to, first base or whatever it was. You have to take that chance. But it's a terrible gamble. But you have to do it. Yankees going to lose Game 3. Game 4 was fun. But the Dodgers really was begging you to grab it. I mean, the starting pitcher they put out there was like first start in his career. It was like the second start in his career, and it is against, and it is in the World Series. And then he threw 7 walks in 2 innings. They were begging you to get it. The Yankees again down 2-0 early, but Anthony Volpe, a great moment for him. I really loved it for him. That grand slam. The Yankees had chances again and again and again, and they couldn't. They're just so bad situationally on the offense. When you need a sac fly, they're terrible at executing them. When you need 2 out hitting, they're terrible at that too. It's just, but Volpe, grand slam, 5-2, and then that terrible defense had the Dodgers crawling back one by one. It was 5-4. And it was like, oh my lord, like this team, this defense is gonna screw it up. It was like a low toss there that gave the Dodgers extra out. The bad throw, like high, whatever, like exchanges, slow exchanges, just terrible fundamental baseball that just kept on giving Dodgers out after out. But the Yankees really only gave away 2 runs until Austin Wells sends a fastball to right field. Now, by then, the Dodgers really are not putting out their best bullpen arms. And then Gleyber Torres with the 3-run home run in the 8th inning. That was a fun night. But again, think about it. Volpe, grand slam, that's 4 runs. Austin Wells, home run, 5 runs. And the Gleyber Torres with a 3-run homer, right? And so out of the 11 runs they scored, 8 of them were on home runs. Still a home run or die team. The one thing that I didn't think the Dodgers did particularly well was they gave Aaron Judge some confidence. They gave this Yankee team confidence, and despite of what I think, give this team some confidence in going into, that momentum shift can be huge. But look what happened. The Yankees could not capitalize on the momentum they generated because their fundamentals are so poor. And I already ranted about Aaron Judge. I already ranted about Garrett Cole, so I'm not going to do that again. But at the end of the day, the captain on your team that this particular team lives or dies upon makes a huge error in center field, and then your ace does not run at first base. This is a top-heavy team. This team has no depth and relies on stars. And their biggest stars to carry the team for them. One of the stars, Giancarlo Stanton, cannot base run or cannot play any defense, so he's only going to be there 3 to 4 times a game. Juan Soto, greatest, a god, and Aaron Judge, who's a non-factor in the postseason in his career so far. I mean, he was great earlier in his career, but the worrying part is his trending downwards in his postseason play. So that's the very worrying part. Postseason offensive-wise, not defensive-wise. Look, this is a team that hates to put players in their most comfortable positions. It just is. They put Gleyber at shortstop way too long. Now, Gleyber was trained as a shortstop in the minor leagues, but in 2020 and 2021, he was not it at shortstop. Everybody wanted to look. I came to that realization after the trading deadline, so, but a lot of the fans before that was asking, hey, look, we can't have Gleyber at short. He has to move back to second. And the Yankees just never admitted that they're wrong until, like, the last series of the regular season. You know who the Yankees put in at shortstop? Gio Urshela played shortstop in the 2021 wildcard game against Boston. Gio Urshela played shortstop. Gio Urshela played shortstop in a playoff game for the New York Yankees against the Boston Red Sox. A game in Boston that should have been in New York because the Yankees could not finish the deal in Boston the last series of the regular season not because they put Urshela in, but because this team is so grossly mismanaged. They put Gio Urshela as shortstop. Career third baseman they put at shortstop. And then in the next following year, they go and then trade for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who won a Gold Glove at third base. Now, he did play a lot of shortstop the year before, but you know what a good management team will do? I think when you come up with a piece like that is to put the player at the position they play the best at. Maybe a position that they won a Gold Glove in, maybe. Just a random thought. Maybe you should go for players that, play their best position at shortstop, especially when you have to go and trade for one and go and acquire one from somewhere. And then, let's pick a Gold Glove third baseman, put him as short. There was a couple of games he played at third, and he was terrific with the Yankees when he was playing at third. And then it was like a stopgap year. Yeah, we're just going to have IKEA for 1 year because our studs like Oswaldo Cabrera, Oswald Peraza, and Anthony Volpe, all three, we think we tout them highly. They're gonna be the next shortstop. So we're not gonna go after Trey Turner. We're not gonna go after Manny Machado. Not that either of them have won a World Series, but they're better than Anthony Volpe right now. And not that, you know, we're not gonna go after we're not gonna go after Corey Seager, even though his swing was tailor-made for right field. Now I didn't think if Corey Seager was ever entertaining in New York, but I don't think New York was ever entertaining Corey Seager to begin with anyway. And no, because we want to have our studs in the minor leagues that just need a couple years to develop, so we need a stopgap shortstop. Okay, yeah, let's put IKF in here. Oh, we have 2 years of control of him. Okay, so after his first year with the Yankees, when he was subpar as a shortstop, and if we have a subpar shortstop, why don't we just bring in our studs in the minor league system and put in my short so they can at least get used to the Major League Baseball level? But no, we want to keep IKF at shortstop. Besides one particular game, and that was actually 2 particular games. And that was during the divisional series in the playoff, and we debuted, I believe it was also Peraza as shortstop, and we also put him as a starting shortstop against Houston in the ALCS, because why not? Why would you not put let somebody debut their Major League Baseball career by playing in the playoffs? Let's not use the regular season to get him wet, get his feet wet in the Major League Baseball. No, let's put him in the playoffs as his debut. That is the best decision ever, because we love IKF, we love Isaiah Kiner-Falefa as shortstop until when your season's actually on the line against Cleveland in an elimination game and against Houston when you're down 1-0 in Houston. Oh man. Oh, and then also, let's move a 6'7", 280 pound, I don't know how. Let's move a giant, a freak of an athlete, to be fair, but let's move a 6'7" guy to center field. Even though he's been playing corner and outfield in his whole career. And he did pretty well. He did very well in the regular season. He's been a very good fielder in the center field. He made good plays, But came back to this when I mentioned earlier, when you're in crisis mode, when you're in high intensity mode, comfortability is your biggest advantage to execute plays that you're supposed to kind of diminish the intensity a little bit. But you're putting players in positions that they're not 100% comfortable in because they weren't trained in those situations. Aaron Judge was not trained to be center field until like a year ago or 2 years ago. Jazz Chisholm was at third. Now he's been good at third base a couple times. But when you need him to make a great play, like a grounder to shortstop that pulled Volpe to the third base side, and you need to get the ball out quick to third base. Tough play for both players. Not saying it was a bad play. It was a tough play. Okay, I'm not blaming any of those players. But when you need a great pick, when you need a good pick at third base, that's when your inexperience at third base show up. Now, I'm not faulting Jazz Chisholm for not making that play. It was a tough play. But wouldn't you think that a career third baseman will have a much better chance at getting that ball? And that would have put you out of that inning? The little details like that gives the other team extra outs and stops yourself from stealing outs when you need them the most. And a plus and a minus here and there over time, or in a big-time moment like the Dodgers series in the World Series, so over 162-game season, that puts you in a bad position. Again, the Yankees have, quote-unquote, the best record in the American League, but they only won 94 games when they probably should have won 98 or 100. Now, that's an easy thing to say, but those fundamentals can steal you wins or steal you outs here and there, but the Yankees are terrible at executing those. And that is why I'm saying there's no hope on this team. Because players are put in positions when they're not being maximized besides on the offensive side of the field. But then when it comes playoff time, the offense was not, I don't want to say they're dead, but that's not being shown. In the first 3 games of the series, you score 3 runs, 2 runs, and 2 runs. World Series. The bullpen held down the fort in most of the playoffs. The starting pitching held down the fort in most of the playoffs too. That's why I'm saying there's no hope. Because this management, from manager side to general manager side, they don't put players in positions to maximize their potential. or maximize their talent. Maybe on the offensive side, maybe. But why? But if so, then what is going on with our hitting coach? What is going on with our approach? Because the bullpen and the starting pitching was what carried you throughout the World Series in the first couple games. That's what kept the games close. I don't think the Dodgers played particularly well offensively. Now, just not taking away from them winning one. I almost said I'm happy for them. I'm not happy for them. That sucks for me. But that does not. But that does not take away their accomplishment. They won the World Series. They beat the Padres. They beat the Mets. They beat the Yankees. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I don't think the offense played particularly well. They scored 6 runs in the first game, and 4 of them came from the Grand Slam. They scored 4 in Game 2, scored 4 in Game 3, scored 4 in Game 4, and they scored. I don't know the final score of Game 5. It's a nightmare for me. But they scored a lot in Game 5, but a lot of them were unearned. The Yankees gave those runs away by the book. The management of this Yankee team is what gives me no hope and is what frustrates me. And whatever they did to Aaron Judge, I mean, I love Aaron Judge, okay? Love him. Love him. But a team with him as a leader, you got to start questioning whether that puts you in the best position in the playoffs. You just have to start questioning it. If I'm not mistaken, Derek Jeter was not given the captaincy until he won a World Series championship. I'm not sure about the captains before that, but a lot of captains, most of them has won. I think besides Don Mattingly, was he a captain? I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. My point is this: they gave Aaron Judge the captaincy, and he was basically grew up in the Aaron Boone era. He has taken the identity of the Aaron Boone era, and he's spreading it like the captain he is. He's supposed to establish the culture of the team, and he's maximizing the Aaron Boone culture. And I'm not sure if that's the best thing for a World Series championship hunt. And he is in the backside of his prime. He's 30? He signed a 9-year deal when he's 30. Or 29. When he was 30. He signed a 7-year deal when Garrett Cole was 29. We're 5 years removed from that. Or 3 years. Yeah, 2019. Or 4 years removed from that. This is what I mean by there's no hope on this Yankee team. The 2 stars to rely upon, both are past 30 years old. Both are making a lot of money. So you have a lot of money put on these 2 players that's on the back end of the prime. Who's the other core player on your team? Your bullpen is a constant turnover. But again, I don't fault them on that. They do very well finding bullpen arms. Carlos Rodon is alright. He hasn't panned out. He's not like the second coming to Garrett Cole. Nestor Cortez had one terrific year, but he's above average at best in his career. Gleyber Torres is a role player, but he's going to be gone. Anthony Volpe, we're still waiting on development on the hitting side. He's good defensively, but we're still waiting on but we don't have the time to wait for him. Anthony Rizzo's gone as a free agent. Now we might sign him back. I don't know. Jazz Chisholm I want to move him to second base, and Alex Verdugo is also. So my point is this: who's the 2 guys that you rely upon? Garrett Cole and much more in the case of Aaron Judge. They're on the backside of the career, and we don't know if they are the best players in the postseason. Maybe much so for Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, but Garrett Cole doesn't run to first base in the postseason. So I don't know what we're talking about here. But my point is this: on this particular team, this team rides and dies with Aaron Judge, and to a lesser extent, Giancarlo Stanton, who you still have on the book forever. And he can only hit 3 to 4 times a game. He's not going to contribute defensively. He's not going to contribute base running on the base running side of the ball, of the field, of the game. Carlos Rodon is also the other guy, but he hasn't been his Cy Young self. He's been good this year, and we don't know how good Aaron Judge is actually in the playoff. Is he a quote unquote championship? Is he a 1B or is he a 1A? Now, this year we had a 1A and 1B, and Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, they could have, not saying as a coach, as a culture setter, but Juan Soto was like 1B, and he did okay he did terrific in the championship series. He did okay in the World Series. But Juan Soto is a 1-year rental, and if you do invest in Juan Soto, which is not the worst idea of the world, but we're still not there, even with Juan Soto, with this particular team. We're still not there. You only still won 94 games. And that's with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto being healthy for most of the season. With Kansas City, Cleveland on the rise. Houston still being Houston. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to be there. Baltimore is on the rise as well. Seattle's going to be good, I think. Where's the hope? There's no hope. This is the one year when they served up the World Series in your face in a silver platter. And you screwed the game because you put in Nestor Cortez in game 1. You picked the ball, even though you're terrible defensively. And your captain can't catch a fly ball. Your ace is the one running first base. That's why you lost the World Series. And this was the best year to win it. And I'm not sure if we can be back here again. And I just one last point. I hear this argument a lot. I heard this argument on Twitter. It was, oh, you Yankees fans are spoiled. You can't really just expect your team being great year in, year out. That's fine. That is exactly fine. But first of all, the same people would have laughed in our face saying, oh, you guys spend so much money and never won a chip. That is exactly right. I agree with you. But but pick a lane and don't come back to me. It's like, but you can't expect them to win a championship every year. I'm not expecting them to win a championship every year. But if you're spending the top 4 in terms of team salary in every single year since 2003 besides 2018, 1 year since 2003, they have spent in the top 4 in terms of total salary. And all of that only came with 1 chip. Look, 2017 for the Yankees was terrific. It was a rebuilding year. We decided to play Gary Sanchez, Greg Bird. Gleyber Torres was not on the team at that point yet, but Didi Gregorius was at shortstop. I'm missing somebody. Luis Severino. That was a rebuilding year, and that was terrific. We lost to Houston ALCS Game 7, and it was like, okay, I had hope. I was like, this is fine. This core of players, it's good to have playoff experience now. 2018 got blown out by Boston, even though we talked about that already. And then after that, you're like, okay, it was terrible, but this core, you made the playoff 2 out of 2 years, whatever. Game 2019, ALCS Game 6 elimination. Okay, you're starting to get worried a little bit. We need pitching. Okay, we added Garrett Cole. This is going to be great. 2020, you bounced in the divisional series in the Mickey Mouse tournament. And then 2021, when we thought we were on the rise, we were eliminated within 24 hours because we couldn't beat Boston in Fenway. Why didn't we beat Boston in Fenway? Because we couldn't. We should have played that game in New York, but we didn't play that game in New York. So we went to Boston. Garrett Cole blew that game. Whatever. Okay, and we added Anthony Rizzo. All is going to be good again. And then, no. 2022, we got swept by Houston. 2023, we got eliminated in the regular season, not in the postseason. We won 82 games last year. We almost broke what I call the Yankee Mendoza line. Like, if you really fall under 500 when you're quote-unquote going for the chip, when you have a championship caliber team, according to Hal Steinbrenner, 82 games is terrible. 82 wins is terrible. If you go below 82, now we have real problems. I'm telling you, the bottom line for the Yankees is, if you fall under 500, we're gonna riot. Now if that's your argument of, oh, you guys are so spoiled, I get it. But I'll give you a nugget on that. If you tell me that you're gonna build for 3 to 5 years, when we're gonna pretend, we're gonna build, we're gonna find young talent, that's fine. If you can fall for 500, I can stomach that. It will be a bad week, maybe a bad 10-day period, but fine. You know what? But every year it's like, oh, this is it. We found Aaron Judge. We found an all-time great in Aaron Judge. But this team is just mismanaging the roster so bad that they're ruining the career of Aaron Judge in terms of a World Series championship. He's actually on his backside of his prime now. He actually is. He's like, what, 32? Playing center field at 6'7", 280 pounds? How long is that going to last? There's no hope. This team is on the backside of the prime. The two guys they rely on are on the backside of the prime. Garrett Cole is a fastball pitcher, and he has a problem in his elbow. And he's, 34? I know he was 29 when he signed in 2019, so yeah, he's 34. Good luck with that. He decided to rehab his elbow this year. That's why he only threw 88 pitches in the game 1. God, there's no hope on this team. There's no hope. First of all, if you're a non-Yankee fan, and you're sitting here saying either you're spoiled, okay, but don't come back, but don't say you're spoiled and say, you haven't won one since 2009, only has won one in 2001. Pick one of those two arguments, please. If you pick either one, I agree with you. Actually, no, if you pick the second one, you haven't won one since 2001, since 2009, I agree with you. If you said you're spoiled, sir or ma'am, this is a roster that That is the top 4 most expensive every single year since 2003. Every single year. And they made the championship series. Let me think. They made the championship series. Oh, they made championship more than that. But they have won one championship since 2001. Every single year since 2001 to 2024, besides 1 year, the salary has been the top 4 most expensive. More often than not, they were number 1 most expensive. Since 2018, every single year, the salary has been top 4 in terms of money spent. And they only made it to the Final Four, the championship series, 3 times. No. Yes, 3 times. Yep. Yeah, 3 times. This team, when they play teams against non-AL Central teams in the playoff, they haven't won a single one of them. And AL Central, overall, is a Cinderella division. They're one of those divisions where when there's a good team out there, people like them because they're underdogs. They're the underdogs of the American League. And every single time you play a non-AL Central team in the playoff, you've lost. This is the Aaron Boone, Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole era. And we're on the back end of this quote-unquote championship window. This was the year that you had the easiest path to the World Series. You were 4 games away against a team that ended up being didn't perform so great offensively. And you lost because you are poor fundamentally. You had mental lapses. You were, I don't want to say they were cuddled. I hate using the word cuddled because I've been told I was being cuddled, and I don't like that at all. But this coaching staff, whatever they've been doing, has made the poor fundamentals worse and worse and worse every single year. Their base running is worse by the year. Their detailed orientation has been worse every single year. And besides a few really great defensive players like Anthony Volpe or Anthony Rizzo when he was good before his CTE issues, overall, this defense is very bad. Jose Trevino can't throw a ball to second base to save his life. There's no hope on this Yankees. There's no hope for the future. This was the closest that we've been, and to me, this is the closest that we will be in a long, long time. And that is why I'm pissed. That is why this episode is running an hour to 13 minutes. And that is why I needed this recording for therapeutic purposes. There's only 3 teams in this whole wide world that will make me this emotional, good or bad. One is Team Taiwan National Baseball Team. But we're underdogs most of the time. When we lose, as long as we have good spirit, as long as they represent the country well, I'm okay with that. Look at the World Baseball Classic, how I reacted to that. Number 2, Texas Longhorns football. But I'm very fortunate to be a Longhorns fan because with the way the college football landscape looks, Texas should be in there. And there's always hope because the turnover is so quick, and the Longhorns should be able to acquire talent at a better pace than everybody else. That we should be okay most of the time. There should be hope. And at least right now, there were times that there was no hope and there was terrible. And it's the New York Yankees. And for a long moment, I thought the Yankees was not there for me anymore because of how grossly this team has been mismanaged, in my opinion. But the World Series was the first time in a long, long time that I watched intensely every single pitch of a particular game. Now, I didn't watch, like I said, I didn't watch some innings. I didn't watch like Game 2, for example. But when I was watching, I was intensely watching the game, and with as a fan. A lot of times when I watch a CPP, I was as an analyst, or not as an analyst. I'm not saying I'm an analyst, but as a analyzing pair of glasses. In this particular World Series, I was a fan. I was living or dying, and I realized how important this team is to me, and it really explains why I am so disappointed and so emotionally unwell after the Game 5 collapse. Luckily, I get to work, we work remotely on Thursdays, and I didn't have to go to the office because when we did have a Zoom meeting, one of my coworkers was like, "Dude, are you okay?" I'm like, "What?" And somebody is like, "Oh no, yeah, the Yankees lost yesterday." And then I go on this very mini rant. But again, to wrap it all up. Yeah, this is one of the past week is one of those times when I finally realized that, it's I'm still a fan at heart. I mean, I'm definitely a sports fan at heart, and I am very illogical at times when I have this sports fan coat on. So I'm not superhuman. I'm still a human being, and I'm still very passionate about my teams when I want to be. For a second, I was like, oh, is it gone? But look, there's a couple of teams that make me feel this way. The Yankees, the Longhorns, and Team Taiwan Baseball. And to be honest with you, the Yankees are the one team that is a constant disappointment. I feel like the way that they manage the team, the way they speak to fans, make me feel like they don't respect their fans enough. Just me. Every year they tell you that they're a championship caliber team, even though every single year you're shown again and again how far you are from actually winning a championship. And this year, yes, you win the World Series, and yes, they will pat themselves in the back for it. And then yes, they can say, oh, they're just a couple of drop balls away from probably going back to LA and then blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, the position that they put themselves in, the way that they put themselves in those positions is the same reason they will never be back again. And that is why it's hopeless for me. And I don't know if this organization is going to really look at that problem, because they will put themselves in the back and say they're so close. They're the second best team in Major League Baseball this year. And they will blame something else, like the Houston Astros cheating. Yes, they cheated. Yes, they did. But that doesn't spare the fact that, you also had the same infrastructure set up, and that's why you hired Carlos Beltran in 2019. And you still got swept by Houston in 2022 after they allegedly are not cheating anymore. So that's it. I'm done. This is Daniel Sheen. Thank you for listening. I don't know when my next episode will be. I was hoping I could do a Taiwan series one and really owe a lot of y'all a Taiwan series one. But this was going to be the week I do it. But then the New York Yankees has just changed the plan. So I'll see if I can make up a Taiwan series, post-Taiwan series analysis. And then the Premier 12 is happening. Team Taiwan has an okay team. It's not the best, most talented team out there that they can put out, but that's a whole nother story. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next time.